is that podcast that you guys wanted back, and we're back in the comfort of our studio doing Monday Night Live. It feels really good. My name's Avanish, and of course, joined in next to me is Akshay. I mean, essentially, this is the first Monday Night Live that we're actually in touching distance. We can't touch the other person, the third person, as you can see, with the yellow background, ever smiling Nikhil, who I'll get on with in a while. But guys, how good is it to be back in this podcast? Akshay, I'll start with you. I mean, it's just weird because I was looking at a TV. Normally we're here doing watch-alongs, but it's a podcast and it just feels right.
Yeah, it actually sort of feels really good because you're not watching the TV screen like you said. And boy, has it been some time since we've done this.
Ages.
How many people were asking us, when's the next episode of MNL and all of that? Finally, we're back here. Time for some banter.
Look, you guys know the rules. Like this video because it picks up on the YouTube algorithm. And of course, all you listeners on Spotify, we absolutely appreciate the fact that you guys have been wanting this podcast back. So we've, of course, delivered once again for you. And there's lots to talk about in tonight's podcast. I'm talking about India's World Cup win. Even though we did the watch along, we gave our reactions. We wanted to give you more because it's been about, 8-9 days since that win, maybe slightly more. But look, we're here to talk about India's T20 international era in terms of no more Virat Kohli, no more Rohit Sharma. So who will fill in those big shoes? We will all pick out our 11s and we'll have you have your say in the comments as well. And not to forget lots of the other things in world cricket. I'm talking about Jimmy Anderson and his final test this week. That starts at Lords on Wednesday. And LPL, MLC, you guys know the drill. And not to forget, will India play the Champions Trophy in Pakistan? So lots to get hands into. But first and foremost, Nikhil Popat, you are about 1,223 kilometers away from us right now in beautiful Mumbai. How are we this evening? And how excited are you with MNL, those 3 letters?
Very, very, very good. Very, very happy. Good to see this baby back. Definitely feels like a baby because started with a good moment with Broad, and we are back discussing Jimmy Anderson today. So, yeah, good opening pair there. And good to be around with one positive and one eternal pessimist in terms of discussing cricket. So, yeah, we'll have that banter saved for later.
Look, this is episode 35. So Nikhil, of course, has been part of it for all 35. Me and Akshay, of course, have always been part of the MNL. And we can't wait to get you the season 2, technically. Lots more guests on it, lots more numbers, features to show you. There's new segments that were introduced apart from the Howzzat quiz that you guys love participating in. And not to forget the best of the rest, where we talk about different things in cricket with you. And it's a community we built over the years, and we can't wait for it to go and hit greater heights. 92K is what we're touching, so subscribe if you're new right now. But I want to start, guys, on this Monday night, the 8th of July, which is not an important date by any stretch of the imagination, with the fact that just MNL releasing. But more importantly, the 4th of July is what we saw amazingly well in Mumbai, with the Wankhede being lit up, Marine Drive, the Queen's Necklace, and all of that, Akshay. Take it back further to June 29th and how we were doing the watch-along. What are some of the best memories when you talk about India's World Cup win? Because for me, there's a plethora of images. Sky Sketch, Kohli just being Kohli, Rohit eating the little dust at the Barbados pitch. It could be Dravid just doing that and giving me goosebumps. It's me watching the highlights 15,000 times since. Lots of things. I can't put my finger to one. Can I put a finger to one? Maybe not. What about you?
Firstly, I'm not sure if my producer would be too keen on the fact that you said 8th of July, kuch khas nahi, it's Dada's birthday.
I mean, Dada's birthday. Happy birthday, Saurav Ganguly, to be fair.
Of course, to begin with, yeah.
Exactly.
But then in terms of memories, I've always admitted that the Indian men's team, unfortunately, they've not been able to evoke the same emotions in me, especially when it comes to white ball cricket.
Yeah.
The 29th of July was probably the first time in a long time. Yeah, 29th of June, beg your pardon. Was the first time in a very long time where I felt something.
Yeah.
Even I had lumps in my throat, lumps, of course, plural. It was great to watch Rahul Dravid, the way he reacted. It was great to watch Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli be so emotional. You could feel for the fans, you could feel for the Proteas, but you could see how much it meant for Indians. For all of us, I know how people were more than happy to bash me left, right and center. Ki boss, kaun hai gadha sala India ka ho, India ko support nahi kar raha. But I mean, happy to be proven wrong. I was happy to see, okay, maybe I still have. There is still a bit of me that does want to root for them. But it was great. It was genuinely great. The parade was great. Sure, we can all talk about the operational side of it. Yaar, boss, they should have managed it better. They should have done this better. They should have done that better. All in all, just to see so many people throng the Marine Drive, throng the Wankhede to just come and see their beloved cricketers, come and see their beloved idols do what they did. And Virat Kohli, what he did for Bumrah, totally deserved, but just good to see that someone, especially off, off the heights of Virat Kohli, to come out and put those in words. We all know how good Bumrah is. We all know that we need to revere him. But it was good to see Kohli do that. And all in all, a fantastic last 7-8 days, to be honest.
Man, Instagram reels, tweets that I'm looking at, memes which have come out. Lerado, I mean, the 8th national treasure is what they're calling Bumrah. And even the fact that Hardik Pandya was warmly welcomed with a Mumbai crowd, right? Nix, I don't know what touched you the most, but was it the game itself, the aftermath of just actually the penny dropping, thinking they're World Cup champions right now? It feels good. India have always been a powerhouse in cricket, but now with that second star on their jersey, the second T20 World Cup, it literally stamps an authority saying, you know what, we were unlucky to miss out on the WTC, we were unlucky to miss out on the ODI, but here's something to celebrate. In T20 World Cup, any World Cup is great. How do you react to it 9 days later?
Yeah, I mean, I will be very honest. I didn't quite feel so much when the game ended. Because I could still not believe that South Africa blew that game up. Happily, though, I am not complaining about that. But to me, it was Klaasen that really did not have me have any hopes. And it was only when he got out where I felt, oh, now this is about one and only. And then when it eventually happened, I felt this was all destiny. Because India played the perfect World Cup in the last year, but did not end up winning. They didn't quite play the perfect World Cup. They would have had a shocker had they lost that game. All the knives would have been drawn, daggers at them. Like, how do you bowl spin to this guy? This bowling change, that bowling change. But it was just meant to be, maybe. And I'll be honest, it was also on 4th July where I actually felt very, very emotional. And again, I was celebrating my daughter's birthday, sitting in a hotel, watching that parade on my phone. And I'll be very honest, when Virat, asked Rohit to come together and then they held the trophy, I kid you not, I literally cried for the first time in a long time that these two guys deserved it. If in terms of, Hardik may get another chance, Bumrah will get another chance. Hopefully he'll win them again on his own. But Virat and Rohit, they've done so much for this nation in terms of, and all of us combined had our own thoughts about should they be playing this one, when will they be playing this one, how will they be playing this one, and for them to just come together to see what they did on that very given day, it felt like it was all written. There was no other way this could have panned out. For Surya to take that catch and for Rohit to then go on and say in that Marathi that good that Surya ने तो catch बसला नाही तर मी त्याला बसवलं असतं. I mean, these guys have had so much, what do you call it, have had the wrong end of it for so long that you kind of felt that it's okay. And you feel bad for South Africa that they came so close. But I think just India was just destined to win that one. And it came down to the guy who was booed all around the country to win them a World Cup. It could not have been scripted better. So whoever did that script, well done.
And that's why they say cricket's a great leveler, right? I really, really felt for Hardik Pandya because, look, I'll hold my hand up and tell you, Akshay and Nix, that I was one of those guys slandering him during the IPL. I just didn't feel like he was doing the right things on the field and off the field. But everyone has a plan, God's plan in Virat Kohli's words. And with Hardik Pandya and how it ended for him, that crescendo was brilliant. So many fantastic stories, right? I mean, you can pick all of it. I know that 3 Rajasthan Royals players didn't take part in the World Cup. Siraj at least got his gig in New York. And even the aftermath, Akshay, looking at Ambani and how she kind of brought Rohit on stage, she went absolutely apeshit in terms of emotion. Fair play. I mean, maybe it hit her nerve differently with her working with Rohit. Obviously, PM Modi and his interaction with the team as well. I saw that whole interview and how he was kind of getting personal with all of them, and the fact that he was kind of really hitting it off with Rishabh Pant and what Pant's been through kind of struck a nerve with me as well. But you guys can let us know in the comments as well. In fact, that is the Monday Night Live question tonight that we're asking. We'll put it up right now to just get these comments starting to trickle through in this podcast, because we're back and we're here to take your questions. This is the one that we're asking you, though. What was your best memory moment, not memory or memory from India's World Cup win in Barbados. I mean, so many on the field, off the field. Akshay gave his, I gave mine, Nix has given his as well. So let us know, and we can showcase some right now and throughout the show. In fact, do we have some comments to take, Shaunak? Because this is a platform ultimately in terms of all the comments that we want to showcase. I just want to shout out to certain players and people in the chat. People forgot their choppers, LMAO, what a crowd, what a celebration. It was absolutely mad
That's true.
in
That's
Monterey.
actually true. In fact, I remember, if I'm not wrong, it was Vikas who showed us a picture of his friend
Yeah.
who sort of entered the parade in a pair of slippers and ended the parade with a pair of completely different slippers, and that's how it was.
Exactly.
Welcome back, says Ronak. Thank you so much. Welcome back to you too. Great to see my favorite show back. Thank you so much for all the love.
MEG saying, yo boys. I think Sanjay Papagiri saying, just happy that this great bunch of boys under Robert got there very badly deserved, especially after the devastating 2020 loss. Finally, MNL is back, saying Tushar Singh. Milan Karki saying hello from Nepal. Hello to everyone joining us from everywhere. I mean, different parts of India, different parts of the world, different parts of Asia as well. And sports fan saying, hi guys, Nani Kaur. So it's a regular cool cats, Akshay, in the crowd. So good to see that. And my best memory is Jaiswal enjoying the World Cup trophy, which was given by Jaiswal in the final. Speaking of Jaiswal, did you see that reel of him kind of getting carried away with Virat Kohli and just staring?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
That was hilarious.
Talk about homoerotic energy. I mean, I kid you not, I was just surprised the way he just kept sort of staring at him. It was pretty innocent on his part, because you could see it must have meant something to Jaisha as well. As much as we all love to slander him, you also need to understand.
But he kept up his words, man. The fact that I will go there and plant my flag, and he did that. Do you think that was kind of slightly provocative?
That's actually something that's something I asked my colleagues as well, because I felt that was probably a bit overboard. But ठीक है यार, World Cup बहुत सालों के बाद जीत रहे. You know that emotions run high, sentiments were flying high. So ठीक है, and probably it was somewhere at the back of his head as well कि boss, I've promised my crowd, I've promised India कि 29 June को Barbados में India का झंडा लहराएगा. So
and he was living up to it. I mean, Nix, let me just ask you one here, because Akshay was playing devil's advocate in the office with the boys, saying, what if Pat Cummins had to do that when he won the 2023 ODI World Cup in Ahmedabad? Would he have gotten away with it? Because I know Travis Head and Mitch Marsh kept their feet on the trophy and people slandered them. Do you think that act was done by any other country in our country? Do you think they would have copped blame?
They would have, for sure. But now you can't question them, because now that you have done it, you've said the president that it is okay to do it. So I agree with Akshay in that line that, it emotions then. Maybe they could have done it somewhere else, or just have a podium and then put the flag there, which is, again, it is a flag, not your regular thing. So the emotion was fine. The president, you should be okay to have somebody else do it, whether it is Wankhede or Eden Gardens, I don't know. So you'll have to take it with a pinch of salt. Maybe more if you don't win the next one at home, but I think we can defend one here this time.
We will talk about all the competitions which follow India, especially the Champions Trophy 2025 and the best of the rest, and whether India actually will go there, because right now the fixtures is going to be Pakistan, India in good old Gaddafi Stadium, Lahore, and whether that plays out or not, only time will tell, and whether that Jay Shah now actually goes there and plants the Indian flag in Pakistan soil. That would be fun, wouldn't it? So look, let's wait for the best of the rest in a bit. But right now, I still want to talk about Team India, and holistically from a T20 international perspective right now, because there's going to be wholesale changes going into that 2026 World Cup. In fact, I've had a fun exercise with the boys, and we're going to bring it to screens right now in terms of all our picks of who should start in a T20 international team for India going forward. We know Rohit and Virat, and not to forget, Jadeja has retired. Unfortunately, Jadeja he just said, you know what, Akshay,
very unfortunate.
I'll give you the props over there. But jokes apart, let's take
India has lost one of its biggest heroes. Sorry.
I mean, it's tragic. It's a tragic one. But we've kind of come up with our teams. The caveat was we can pick anyone apart from retired players. So obviously not your Rohit Kohli or Dhoni's or whatever. And let's see who has the best team. At least it's subjective. You guys can let us know in the comments below. So who wants to go first? I'm thinking eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe. If he cries, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So that's Nikhil Popat over there who starts. Right. So Nix, let's start and put your team. So producer, can you find out what Nikhil has? Yep. Ooh, it already looks tasty. And Nikhil, you can talk me through this one, please.
Yeah, so two high intent openers in Abhishek and Jaiswal. Of course, Sky bats at 3, fairly obvious. Rishabh Pant again, a call that people can take. I'm happy with Sanju getting that last hurrah. So Sanju slots in as my keeper batter there. Of course, Hardik plays. Of course, Rinku Singh plays. And sorry for that Akshay Patel pick. But Avanish, apologies, but you have to pick the best there. And thankfully, of course, Jadeja is retired, so that makes that decision easier now. So that is the batting depth. Till 7, I'm okay with it because I'm picking the best possible T20 bowling options in Kuldeep, Jasprit, one Bumrah, Ravi Bishnoi, and Arshdeep Singh. So I think fairly straightforward, barring the opening slot and the keeper slot. But I would love to have this 11 defend this title next season.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just put us back on screen right now, Shauna, because I'll tell you what, that was pretty much my team, and I'll get to my team in just a bit, but I agree with Nick's there holistically. And this is the thing, right? Because I know a lot of T20s are going to be played in the lead up to the Champions Trophy 2025, and not necessarily we would want to start with the Bumrah all the time, because I know he's a player required in the other two formats as well. And I'm thinking to myself, we have to give options in terms of who our 12, 13, 14, 15 players. I know, for example, I put in the likes of Bishnoi is my backup for Kuldeep. Harshit Rana is there in terms of just variety for pace options. I would stick my neck out and probably even give Sanju in that luxury because I've gone for Pant. In fact, let me just put up my team right now and then we'll get Akshay's, I think, who has a different take altogether on it as usual. Now, this is my team. The only new name I have here is Pant and, of course, Nitish Kumar Reddy, who I feel, I'm judging him on one season. He might be a flash in the pan, but I like what I see in all three departments. Not just the fact that he can run up and bowl dibbly-dobbly pace, but he can also kind of feel well and he can back a punch with the bat. So he is my number 7. And you look at the bowling options, I think I'm kind of solid in that. So pretty much similar to Nick's. I would have those top 3. Then Pant is my wicketkeeper at 4, Pandya a captain at 5, Rinku at 6, Nitish 7, Akshay 8, Kuldeep, Bumrah and Arshdeep. So technically 8 bowling options because we've seen Abhishek Sharma bowl as well. So that's mine. And I'm guessing always Nick's and me on the same plane. But this man here, he's got some wild choices. Can we have Akshay's team?
Not wild, but short, different. I'll just leave it at that. Left field. So I do agree with you on Nitish Kumar Reddy. He's definitely a talent to look forward to.
You gone for Tilak Varma?
So yeah, I've gone for Tilak Varma in my middle order. Only because at the top I haven't gone for Abhishek Sharma. I was in two minds between Shubman Gill and Rutraj Gaikwad. I've gone for Shubman Gill because I was being a bit realistic there. I think BCCI or the Indian management will be backing Shubman Gill over Gaikwad. That was the thought process behind that. Pant slots in at 3, Sky at 4, Tilak at 5. So the top 5 in terms of balance is very similar to what you guys have. It's the resources where you see a bit of change. Hardik, Rinku, Akshay. I've gone for Harshit Rana because I personally am also a big fan of batting depth. I'm not saying Harshit Rana is a great batter, but he lends a bit of batting value, which means Kuldeep at 10 and Jasprit Bumrah at 11, I'd happily take this side because all in all, having someone like an Akshay Patel coming in at number 8, would give a lot more freedom to your top orders, which is something we saw even during the World Cup. Because you had the likes of Jadeja and Akshay coming in at number 7 and number 8, the top order could play with a lot more freedom. You saw Rohit Sharma come up with those quick fire knocks. You saw Rishabh Pant go after bowlers happily. So that was the idea. But Nitish Kumar Reddy is a name I have as my 12th man as well. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because I think all 3 have one thing in similar. 3 teams with high intent and lots of bowling options. I think fairly, you guys might agree with us in the comments. Who we missed out that you guys think is a must-have? I know it's funny that me and Akshay sitting here as RCB fans, but India fans first, have not got a single RCB player in that, even probably in the 15, to be fair. I was thinking Patidar next. I was thinking...
I'm surprised Akshay doesn't have Nitish Rana in his side.
Exactly.
So one more reason I actually was in two minds about going for Nitish Rana or Tilak Varma. The only reason being, I also wanted an off-spinner. Right now, Tilak Varma also bowls a bit of off-spin, but that's not something that you can bank on.
So then Washi.
Washi, the T20 player.
His team only has 5 options, actually. Tilak is his 6th option.
Tilak is the 6th option, agreed. So very similar to what we saw in the World Cup. Basically, the idea is, boss, pack your top order, have good options across. And I was also a bit more, I paid a bit more attention to that right hand, left hand. I felt with Abhishek, Rishabh, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rinku Singh, we would have 4 left-handers in the top 6, which I felt was one too many. Which is why I thought someone like a Shubman Gill or a Rutraj Gaikwad could fit in there. I don't see the Indian management backing Rutraj over Shubman. So
here's a question, and Nick, I'll just kind of ask you your thoughts about the discrepancy we had in terms of I'm playing Pant, you're playing Sanju. Sanju, I feel really bad for generally that he was part of the World Cup squad. Yes, he has a medal, but he technically didn't play a game and all of that. We can get into the nitty-gritties. Then I'm thinking to myself, you look at this World Cup, and there were 4 amazing, maybe 5 amazing batters right now we have in the Indian ecosystem who can play T20 cricket for any other country but didn't play for India. I'm talking Shubman Gill, Ruturaj Gaikwad, KL Rahul, Shreyas Iyer, Sanju Samson, right? 5 amazing right-handed batters, IPL captains. Are we now thinking the ship has sailed on all of them because he has Gill in it? And Gill might be, of course, realism. Like Akshay said, BCCI want a poster boy to sell, so Gill is that forerunner for that. What about Sanju? Because we love him. It's a sentimental pick. But do you think they will hold on to Pant or Sanju comes in?
See, to me, it was a very format-based call because I'm very keen on Pant in the white ball format in terms of longer ODI and Test. I don't want him to be worried too much about the T20s because you have Sanju said there who we are unlikely to see because you have Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul in the ODI format. So there I feel there is very little chance of Sanju breaking through that team. And I would not want to just let go of Sanju for the sake of it because you have a format where he's good at and he can be that crucial experienced player for you batting at 4 or 5 in a very key spot. So that is my rationale there. And see with Gaikwad, we saw that yesterday as well in the second T20. That I feel Shreyas, Gaikwad, KL, at this point of time, they are far more suited to the ODI format. And I would love to see them get an extended run there. With Rishabh, I'm very keen on managing his workload because I want him fit and fine for the BJT and for the WTC games, whichever that are coming along. And I want to see if you can find a way to groom this guy in your ODI setup in place of Sky. So that is probably my long shot in terms of the ODI setup. But that's where I want Rishabh to be there as a backup to KL in the ODI format. So every bit of it is ensured. I think Gill will feel the pressure, I feel, in terms of the intent, because if Abhishek continues to do what he did, it is not going to be easy for people to just bat at 130s, 140s and feel that we can do this for a longer period of time. So that's where I feel. But Gill will be there, at least in the white ball format. Red ball, maybe he can take a break. And Jaiswal, again, see, Jaiswal is not a sure starter, just as of now is what I feel. In this format, I think I would happily have him focus on the red ball format. Again, I'll go back to my rant on separate pools. Always been a very good advocate of it, so I'll stick to that. Separate the pools, give them a good run in the format they are good at.
What about Pant then? Because the thing is, we obviously like him. We obviously have a lot of affiliation for him. And I'm thinking to myself, it's similar to what Nick just said about Jaiswal. The fact that we want Jaiswal to be a prolific test match batter, apart from the T20 stuff that can bring on board, great. But Pant, I want him to win as a WTC right now because he's got the World Cup medal. Give Sanju an opportunities in T20. Anyway, we don't want Pant to be playing all those silly T20 bilaterals. Samson at least makes a proper case for himself in the next 10 months.
I do agree with you there, but again, the thing is, we know that the Indian management, at least historically, has had the tendency to breed, to groom multi-format players. They've preferred having the same names across formats. They've liked to mix formats while, selecting the squads and whatnot, which is why I'd be very surprised if Yashasvi Jaiswal does not open for India against, say, the likes of Australia, if and when they play Australia, England. जब भी बड़े देशों को खेलेंगे, you would see those big names come back in. Sure, against, Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka, you can go for anyone you want because they'll be experimenting, they'll be trying new names, which is why the 11s that we've come up with more or less talk about the best 11 that we think India can field as things stand in the 26th World Cup. So if you talk about what can they do against Sri Lanka, किसी को भी ले लो भाई, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But come the big games, come the big tournaments, I would be very surprised if Jaiswal doesn't come in, if Pant doesn't come in, if Gill doesn't come in, because that's how they've operated so far. So I don't know if they will sort of make such a big course correction going forward.
Yeah, that's the question that we're all kind of asking right now. Watching the Zimbabwe-India series, you guys can, of course, catch the coverage on cricket.com. But apart from that, I'm looking at some of the comments right now, Nikhil and Akshay, in terms of the Monday Night Live YouTube zone. And right now, many people are saying different things. Jugal is saying BCCI is obsessed with all format players. What about Parag asking Mohammad Arhan? He's a better bowler than Tilak and can bat at 4 and 5. Parag isn't a better bowler than Tilak. LOL saying Parth, retorting to Mohammad Arhan. Greg K saying, I would rather have Sanju in ODIs. His stats are better for ODIs for India than T20. And then even Vipulanand chipping in. Good to see all you guys, by the way. DK, shout out to you. Nani Korfo, Abbas Kunde as well. DK is going on to say, I think we're just going over the top with Abhishek Sharma. He has a long way to go. I don't feel comfortable at all having him in our strongest 11, to be fair. That's, look, your opinion. I know we might be getting carried away with that 47 ball 100, 46 ball 100 or whatever, but we just feel that Abhishek Sharma is, I don't know, kind of cut from a different cloth. Even though it was a great IPL sort of season, I feel like we should just give him a longer rope.
Yeah, and it's not often we see openers who also bowl.
Yeah.
So it's a package, it's a rare package that way. So, and about Riyan Parag, great shout again.
Yeah, people are saying Patidar, people are saying Parag in the comments. People are also my hinting about Dubey. In fact, Abbas Kunde is given his 11 and he says, I have a very weird one, but here's what you guys think. I mean, what do you guys think? Surya, Jaiswal, Tilak, Parag, Hardik, Rinku, Jitesh, Akshar, Kuldeep, Bumrah, Arshdeep. So Jitesh is the left field there. Tilak, Parag pick themselves, I'm guessing. So,
Yeah.
I mean...
Actually, the Surya opening is something that we discussed, Avanish, in the past. If you remember, we discussed having a wild 11 where I would open with Surya and Jaiswal because it gives Surya 20 overs to bat. And what good, better than giving your number one T20 batter as much time as he wants to just set the tone. Because again, it will be in India. Most likely you are going to see high scoring games because that's where the general tendency is. But a mix of what Akshay said, I think a lot will depend on who's the new coach and whether he wants to go down that same guys in all three formats. Because Parag and Shivam, they both are unlikely to get in other formats. So this is probably the only format where they could get a balance.
Correct. And I agree with you when you say that because Dubey, he just kind of gave an optical illusion to people saying that I can bowl if need me. He never bowled in the World Cup. He kind of pipped Rinku in that regard. And that's what I'm thinking, Akshay. If they're bowlers who bat at the top of the order, especially in the IPL, who can give their teams 2 overs each. So you're talking about Tilak potentially, Parag, Abhishek Sharma, Shivam Dubey's. They have a pressing case to feature in that 11, if not that 15. Are there any other names we're missing out?
Also, there's one thing with Shivam Dubey, it's also that fielding or the lack of it that will probably, go against him that way compared to all the other names you took here.
Yeah.
Nitish Rana is definitely a name I would throw in because, again, adds value with the bat. He does back himself. So, whenever I've seen him, Uttar Pradesh wale maybe, he does bowl. KKR के लिए उतना कुछ खास क्या नहीं जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ी है भाई 5 अच्छे खासे बॉलर है जो खुद 15-20 विकेट ले रहे हैं so he's never had to bowl. Biases aside, Rajat Patidar again good shout because you want a spin basher there. So Shivam Dubey number 5 के बदले Rajat Patidar at number 4, Sky at number 3 and then number 5 you can have.
But I don't see them playing Patidar and Samson in the same 11.
Samson doesn't feature in my 11
because they're playing Pant.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair. I'm just thinking to myself, if we've missed anyone, let us know in the comments, please, because we're just kind of dissecting India's T20 international era going forward. Because 3 big names in terms of stepping out, Rohit, Virat, and of course Jadeja, but who could fill that void? Is the wicketkeeper slots kind of confirmed with KL not being part of T20s anymore? So it comes down to Samson, Pant, Jurel, and Jitesh. And I don't mind any of these 4, but you guys have to see what is best. I think Pant and Samson start as favourite for me. Samson, ideally, even though I had Pant, I'm just looking from a test match scheme of things. But we can talk about India's T20 era so much with regards to all sports. But that's just us throwing a little light on it, given that the Zimbabwe series is on. And that's a segue to just ask you all, if you had one thing that you want to see Indian T20 side tick off with the Zimbabwe series, what is that thing? Because there is, of course, Jaiswal and Dubey back. And do you think they'll make any changes? And what is the one thing that you're looking forward the most in these next 3 remaining games?
Again, personal biases, but I just hope Washington Sundar, the T20 player, the T20 player rather, just steps up.
He had a chance to win it, Akshay,
Yeah.
that first game.
Yeah.
If he can actually, look back at that innings, he'll be livid with himself. I mean, you make a good point with Washi because after Ashwin, you're thinking to yourself, damn, do we have a fucking off-spinner who can bat?
Exactly.
And there's not a single soul.
Which is very surprising,
Yeah.
given India usually has been very, very fortunate in terms of spin riches. Not clearly the case right now. So Washi coming good with the bat would really take a solid box for them. If Washi the batter comes good, then I don't need any of these Tilak Vermas or anyone.
Yeah.
Washi at 7, Akshay at 8 solves all my problems now. Washi, Akshay and Kuldeep, I've got 3 varieties taken care of. Left-handers, right-handers, so be it. Matchups ke liye bhi options hai. Power play, face coverage is also good. But that's one box I really want India to be able to tick.
Yeah, Nick, so far, what have we seen? We've seen Bishnoi be the perfect sort of secondary person after Kuldeep in terms of that wrist spinning option. We're seeing Avanish come to the fore, Mukesh, of course, doing his good stuff in the power play, Abhishek R. Sharma being unearthed as well. Any other thing that we're missing from a fan point of view looking at the series?
Yeah, one guy, Tushar Deshpande. I'm looking forward to him getting. You want Nitish Sala as the team, but having a smirk when you say Tushar Deshpande.
I know, but tell me why Deshpande.
Not you.
But
Because
Nitish Rana को अपने team में लाया भी नहीं थी. And I'm not saying it's wrong or anything. It's just it's interesting. Tushar Deshpande is yeah, fair enough. Has had a very good IPL.
But Nick, honestly tell me, who do you think will get a game now? I know the series is poised. Everyone's saying, "Ha, theek hai, India jeet lega 4-1 types." But who else do you think will get the India T20 cap?
See, in terms of new games, I don't see new caps handed over. Tushar, I think, is the one guy who I think should get a couple of games because I want to see if he at all is an option in this format. Now, again, in this format, because you're not playing 12 versus 12, your roles are far different when you're playing 11 versus 11, and which is why I want to see what Tushar brings to the table when they use him, because Mukesh again has been used with a new ball in this series, which is good. But in the IPL, you saw him bowl very late. Sometimes he only bowled 2 overs as well for Delhi. So to see what they do with Tushar. I think this is the series where if this is where Shivam doesn't bowl, I don't think he's ever going to bowl for India. So I'm very keen on him playing, and I'm very keen on seeing how he takes care of Wellington, Sikandar, and everybody, because we are yet to see the Shivam Dubey that we are promised. And make no mistake, he made a very crucial contribution in the final, getting those handy 20 runs. But the fact is, you've picked him to hit spin, but right through the World Cup, you kind of felt he was far more hesitant in terms of just wanting to go after it, which wasn't the case in the IPL, where maybe there was the case of spot assurity that no matter what happens, he is there in the team. So that makes you bat differently. So looking forward to that changing, because as we discussed yesterday with Somesh, you probably expect Samson to come in for Jurel. You expect one of the Sai Sudarshan probably to be the fall guy to be going out for Shivam Dubey. And then I'm very keen to see who is the pacer that they drop, because Mukesh is the guy who's going to bowl top and tail. So whether Tushar becomes that guy, because I don't think you should rest Avesh. So Tushar Deshpande is the one guy, and Shivam Dubey batting is what I really want to see in the upcoming 3 games.
Yeah, we'll bring it for you all in terms of all the reviews for that. Wednesday's the next one from Harare, so we'll be there around 8:30, I'm guessing, when the game gets done. So join us then, and there's plenty more live content, speaking of which we'll talk about in the next Best of the Rest segment. But just to close up this chat and the main chat, lads, lots of people in the comments, and good to see Turup Mark Top enter the chat. Mohammad Ran saying his stuff, and lots more. But like you can see, there is, of course, plenty to talk about. People are actually giving a shout out to Ritik Shokeen as the next big or Indian off spinner. They're rare breeds in cricket, and that's what makes it interesting. Many people reckon Shami should be brought back for T20s, and would want Harshit Rana instead of Mukesh in rest of the matches, saying sports fans. So, look, you guys are lovely, just in terms of contributing with this chat and having your thoughts, because there's so many experts / pundits in our country. It doesn't just give you an impression, it's just whatever, 100,000, it's more than that. Let's move on then. And before we do, quickly like this video, just 15 likes so far. I expect at least 50 likes if you're listening to YouTube on this later on in this week as well. So please, takes a second of your time. Let's move on to best of the rest, because it is the best. I've actually missed that sting, the little man wiping the wine on the ping.
I was about to say the same thing. God bless you, Avanish. God bless you.
Yeah, 100%. And look, good old MNL people would know that we, of course, segment this show and we talk about a plethora of things. We'll talk about international cricket in just a bit, but just to finish off the Indian cricket chat, we'll pander to the women's because we were supposed to do the women's T20 review yesterday, but rain curtailed the game, so we just saw one innings there. We will be, of course, bringing it for you later on in this week. When is it? The next one?
Tomorrow, the last T20.
The last T20. So join Akshay and Neha for that. Just dissecting what happens in that T20 International before we talk about other things. The one news which struck me early on today was the women's CPL, the Caribbean Premier League. 2 more Indians. We saw how Sri Lanka Patil did, but now Jemmy and Shikha Pandey.
That's true. Jemmy, Shikha joined Jess Jonathan and Meg Lanning to sort of take that very solid Delhi Capitals score from the WPL into TKR setup at the WCPL. In fact, those who saw the WPL remember the Shah Rukh, Meg Lanning camaraderie there. So that's clearly playing out here. But a solid core, and Meg Lanning deserves that trophy. And yeah, WCPL, you would imagine these are tournaments that she would come good all by herself. But all in all, very happy for Shikha Pandey as well. A name, so to draw parallels to Sri Lanka Patil's selection last season, when Sri Lanka Patil got into the WCPL, she'd been snubbed by the Indian management. India travelled to Bangladesh then and she wasn't selected, surprisingly. Shikha Pandey has been snubbed for God knows how long. She's had a very good WPL. She's a very handy all-rounder to have. She, along with Arundhati Reddy and, of course, Pooja Vasakar, can actually form a very good trio. Excellent face coverage as well. I, for one, have genuinely wanted to see more of her. Clearly not been the case. So happy to see that at least international teams or teams outside India are recognizing her for who she is, for her performances, for her talent. So it's great to see that. And yeah, I mean, Jemmy is Jemmy. I don't think...
The best part about women's cricket, especially with Indian cricketers going to ply their trade in different leagues. We've seen it in the Women's Big Bash League. We've seen it in other cricketing leagues where women cricketers from the BCCI can actually go and play, unlike the men. So to put more Indians on the map, because the WCPL right now, Nick's, I think, 3rd season into it. And not to forget, you said Meg Lanning, of course, is there, Jess Jonathan too, but even Deandra Doughton, I think, is a TKR, right? So it just gives a chance for these Indians to go, not just play with these cricketers, but rub shoulders with some of the best in the game. Just quickly on that, Nick, I mean, do you think having more players coming out of the WPL and going to play in the West Indies, in Australia, in England, all these leagues, it'll just make the women's game grow 2x, 3x, maybe 5x, right?
100%. And see, the biggest parallel that you can draw or the inspiration that you can take is a lot of times Indian cricket, we've seen in terms of close games, you haven't been able to close them out. Now, when you spend time with a Hayley Matthews, with a Taylor, with a Doughton, with a Meg Lanning, you understand how are they thinking at that moment in that chase. Now, you don't have to be batting with her, but just from being around that discussion, you get to learn so much which you can implement when you come back to your circuit and play. So, a lot of us will feel, what if they even get there? Some of them may not even get to play, but that's okay. Just being there in itself helps a lot of them just get a lot more exposure to the game, which when you are in a certain setup, you will not always get that. So, very much looking forward to how Sri Lanka also evolves, because she's had a rough 2 games in this series itself. And when you are a bowler who's going to be designated bowling at the back end, you will have to keep evolving. So she can go to the WCL and understand, okay, how is Hayley Matthews doing it? If there is this one batter, how is she planning out an innings? Because Sri Lanka is someone who you can promote up the order as well. Hasn't been tried yet. But just the fact that how do you plan for all of these things? So it is always a positive. And of course, digressing, but Shubh Agrawal has another team to follow. So that is good for his sake as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I'm thinking about it, Akshay, from even a women's perspective. How good have they been, A? And B, we talk about how the men's team require an off-spinner. They have a plethora of off-spinners. We saw them come to the fore, talking about even Sneerana or Shriyanka herself. They're in good hands. just largely, and just to finish up this women's cricket chat, what else could really benefit them going forward? I know the Asia Cup beckons, the World Cup is later on this year. People like Shriyanka Patil, do you think now they actually are good enough to play for another country? Because she's not even getting a gig for India currently.
So right now, I feel India have tried to be a bit too cheeky, because I genuinely think her position in the T20 setup at least should not be questioned. She has to be a part of it. I was very surprised when Asha Shobna played instead of her in the first T20I.
And is that because she's a good death overs bowler?
Yeah, primarily that, and also because she has the smarts. She can also ply her trade in the power play, in the middle overs, offers value with the bat, like Nikhil bhai said, a gun fielder. So that she's exactly the kind of package you would want in your T20 setup. And so again, I'm guessing it was also the Indian management trying to explore new options, because it's the tournament's going to be in Bangladesh, so they'll also have to make sure कि भाई सारे spinners अच्छे हैं कि नहीं, किसको लेके जाना है. So fair call, but was very surprised. And as far as Shriyanka playing for another country is concerned, Australia right now probably a bit of a stretch. But yeah, New Zealand, South Africa, I'm pretty sure she could easily walk into any of their setups. Just one more thing to add to, all these Indians getting experience playing outside. So Shriyanka, in one of your favorite Kannada shows, she was interviewed by a couple of them. So I remember her talking about how what primarily changes is the fact that now she's no longer competing for a spot for one among 7 spots, like in the WPL. There, she's one of the 2 overseas pros, which means a lot of these players will be relying on her. So she ended up being the more experienced player there. She was helping others out. She had to sort of groom a couple of players under her wings and all of that. And that sort of, helps you also develop as a player. It's not just about rubbing shoulders, but the fact that now you're one of just 2, not one of 7. Yeah. You're not the local player. You're expected to be professional. You're expected to come with the goods day in, day out.
And sometimes if you're a player, you look at that and you have to embrace it, the responsibility, of course. If you're so young, but you're having the demand that you have in this T20 format, then why not? So onwards and upwards to Shriyanka Patil, onwards and upwards to the Indian women's cricket team, because we've seen it with the men's and how they've come a long way. If they can win the World Cup later on in Bangladesh, it'll be absolutely brilliant, because we do have the resources. I know people will still look at Australia, still look at England and be like, damn, their power hitting is insane, and India need to catch up in that regard. But in terms of bowling resources, the way we throw ourselves in the field right now is great, and the WPL will really propel that through. So women's cricket, God be with you. Let's, of course, move on and talk about a man who's going to be not, of course, around any longer after one more test. I'm talking about a man who's played 188 times for England, all the way from 2002, Jimmy Anderson. Akshay, does it sit well with you that he's retiring? Because here's a man who we expect him to bowl. We turn on the television every summer, England test summer, and Anderson is a prominent fixture, but he's not going to be there anymore after that one last long test against West Indies. So your thoughts about that and his press conference, which just came out a while ago?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, his absence is going to be very conspicuous, because you've often associated the English side with James Anderson. Chahe jo bhi ho jaye, bahar jo bhi ho, na ho, Jimmy Anderson dikhega wahan pe.
But I know numbers-wise, best pacer in Test cricket, right? But would you say genuinely best pacer in Test cricket?
I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of him. So jitna bhi dekha, he's definitely right up there in terms of one of the best pacers I've seen.
What do you mean you haven't seen a lot of him? 22 years he's bowled for England.
22 years he's played, but I haven't watched cricket for 22
Surely
years.
That's the era that you watch cricket.
Most of it, yeah, but I wouldn't be watching England, Sri Lanka or England, New Zealand to sort of put it.
Fair. If I have to ask you, wind back the clock and tell me the best Anderson spell. I can think of a few. Can you think of any?
I can think of a couple of spells he had against India. So 2011, I'm not sure if it was Trent Bridge or was it Nottingham, but again, he had a couple of these fantastic spells where a 6-4, of course. But more than his spells, it's a couple of other incidents that really, are sort of part of my memory. One, of course, is his partnership with Joe Root in the 2014 series. Of course, can't forget that. Another just random memory out of nowhere is 2007 NatWest series. The 6th ODI, the one Uttapa, of course, won us the game. He had Dhoni bowled. It was a Yorker. Dhoni played it onto his stumps. I remember cursing. I came
Wasn't
up
it Broad?
No, it was Jimmy Anderson.
Okay.
And either he got him out bowled or it was an inside edge four. Either one of these two things had happened against Anderson. I was cursing Anderson with the choicest of expletives that a fifth standard kid could do. That's pretty much it. उसके अलावा 2011 World Cup याद है बैंगलोर में जब गेम हुआ था, him bowling to Tendulkar, and that's pretty much it. Bowling wise, I of course, against India, Rishabh Pant reverse VPS up. Spells, unfortunately, not a lot come to my mind off the top of my head.
Nix, I'll get your thoughts on Jimmy Anderson in just a bit, but when you mention the mere name of the man, I'm thinking to myself, him having Virat Kohli on toast in 2014, him, of course, silencing a certain Mitchell Johnson when he said, "Why are you chirping now, mate?" And then, of course, that celebration. Him getting a couple of crucial 6-fers, 7-fers in his illustrious career. The few that stick to mind is that, I don't know, that one against Pakistan at Trent Bridge. He did it against Sri Lanka in Galle 2021 when the conditions weren't the best for him. Many people remember him for, of course, 2015 Ashes, 6-fer. Again, I think that came at Edgbaston. And he's been brilliant. He's got some of the best batters out over and over and over again. I'm talking about Ponting, Tendulkar, Kohli, Pujara,
Kallis,
Sangakkara. Just the best names, right? So out of all of his 700 victims, Nikhil, do you have one ball which stands out? Like how Siddle got Cook or how Mockles got Cook again? Why am I thinking of Cook? Point being, what makes you think of Jimmy Anderson the most?
It is very simple. Top of all, Michael Clark getting bowled. That is, to me, James Anderson defined. And that's what you think of James Anderson, that's what you think. There's a guy, that action, he is going to be there, top of every single day of the game, of the test, of the session. And that is, it speaks volumes because, see, we can talk a lot about pace, conditions, and all of that. But just to have that discipline to just be there, or that's the place where everybody wants to be. And that's his bread and butter. So, of course, I don't think I have loved James Anderson at any point of time in his playing career. He's probably been the second guy after Ricky Ponting who just doesn't do. I just don't like to see him do well. More haunted by the 81 that he scored against India, where I could not fathom how is this guy scoring. I mean, what on earth are you doing that you're not getting James Anderson out? But I mean, that's what it is. When you are there for so long in this sport, you are there for a reason. There is a skill that is a thing that you bring to the table, which makes you play that mini game. So, to me, it is that Michael Clark ball. A very less talked about spell is the one that Akshay touched in 2012 in Eden Gardens, where he bowled a very crucial spell to ensure the test was then in England's favour, and then the rest is history. Even MS said it's the same way that it was James Anderson who was the difference between the two sides in terms of that series. So, when you play that bigger role for your side, definitely a very, very big role. But about time, you feel in terms of it's fair and fine, and as he himself put it, someday he had to stop. So of course, I'm sure he'll go back and play county cricket, and of course he can take 100 wickets there. I have no problem. But yeah, thank you so much for coming.
I mean, it's amazing with Anderson. Here's a man, a sportsman who's, of course, had the longevity to play, 20 odd years of cricket. And you think about how he made his debut against Zimbabwe, who had cricketers like Heath Streak and all those guys. And he, of course, has played cricket against the likes of, I don't know, I'm guessing like
Pant
Sundar and all those youngsters. So the amount of cricket that he's seen, the cricketers he's played against and with is just remarkable. He's won an Ashes down under. He's won an Ashes at home. He's won in India, home and away. He's won in South Africa. He's won in New Zealand. Not a series maybe, but I think he's won in New Zealand generally. South Africa as well. So look, James Anderson, I mean, he'll always be compared to Stuart Broad, right? I mean, I'm reading some of the comments right now. Happy retirement, Cloudison, saying Thurup Markthorpe. Broad over Anderson, in my opinion, saying Jugal. And remember, all you guys have some other great questions for us, and we haven't taken them. We'll take them in the 12th man segment later on. So pardon me if I've missed out on them. Greg K chatting up this Anderson topic, saying McGrath, Steyn are better bowlers than Anderson. Anderson is superior to everyone in England conditions, but Steyn and McGrath can destroy teams in all conditions. And that's a fair assessment. Vamsi Krishna saying, if you play 184 tests, then of course you're going to get almost everyone out. And happy retirement, Cloudison, indeed. It also makes us think about how Anderson will be playing his final test, which is his 188th. So technically, Akshay, no one will ever be able to break Sachin Tendulkar's 200 Test record.
Not in this era. Yeah, not in this era when there's so many
Yeah.
T20s and everything going on. Yep, not
Because Sachin's Test runs can still be broken by Joe Root, maybe. But thinking appearances, Test match caps, 200, I don't think we'll be alive to see it if that's the case, or there'll have to be some sort of injection in Test cricket. So, look, let us know what you guys are going to be feeling about Anderson generally. Let me just quickly shift the attention to Test match cricket returning, and it's good to see that England, West Indies, and how I would love to see Shamar Joseph and co turn up, and what they did in the Gabba to do that in England. I know he didn't play that.
He's already
first
said,
game.
sorry to interrupt, he's already said that he wants to spoil Anderson's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Shamar
But he
bhai,
didn't-
hum aapke saath hain.
He didn't play that county select 11 game. I think they all got a run out. Callum Hodge got some runs. Obviously, Brathwaite is there, going to be captaining them. What do they need to do to beat England? Because England, of course, even though they made a few changes, it's still going to be baseball. It's still going to be ludicrous cricket from Ben Stokes and co. Do they have a chance?
I mean, they've defeated Australia in or at the Gabba, so they definitely have a chance. But I'm also very curious to see how baseball performs against this pace battery, the likes of Alzari Joseph. There's, of course, Shamar Joseph, like you mentioned, Jason Holder. These are pacers who like to hit those hard lanes. And again, if the surface is going to be flat, and if Craig Brathwaite is not funky enough with his fields, it's not smart.
So there's no Roach, but
No
I think
Roach.
there's Shannon Gabriel.
Yep, that's right.
I'm guessing there will be.
There's Gudakesh Murthy, of
Gudakesh
course.
Murthy is to spin.
Yeah.
Maybe they will probably have the other pacers. Who else do they have?
Shamar Alzari, Jason Holder, Shannon Gabriel, Kemar Joseph. Kemar Roach has been ruled out. I'm forgetting if there's any other pacer, but again, I don't think they'll play more than 4 pacers, including Holder, because they'll probably go with a spinner as well in Gudakesh Murthy. But yeah, like I said, baseball, we've seen what Pat Cummins did against them last year, and I'm not sure if Craig Brathwaite can emulate some of that, but if he does, it'll be great. Nahi to 700-800 run to bhai hone chahiye kaide se.
What do you think, Nix? Because right now, I'm thinking to myself, there is a little bit of a transition time for England as well. They lost Broad last summer. They're losing Anderson this summer. Shoaib Bashir, I'm of course going to be playing in this series and sticking as their solitary spinner. They've gone for Jamie Smith as their new wicketkeeper. No Robinsons, no Bairstow. So holistically, England, yes, they have the weapons to take down this West Indies team at home, but can they be found wanting? Because they, of course, asked Lara this, and Lara said if they do exactly the same thing that they did against Australia, which is low-scoring test match, they can probably pull it off. But if England suddenly get 350, 400, regardless, West Indies are out of it. Do you see it the same way?
I don't think they'll be out of it straight away. And firstly, I will never hope for more than 500, 600 runs in an innings. I would want that to be combined score. If possible, that would be
especially in England.
Because because the thing that you have to also take care of is if it's flat, England will also have to work hard. And again, there is a massive assumption there that West Indies will not just give it away. So that is my expectation number one, that I would want West Indies to be able to hold their fort. Okay, England have Joe Root, Harry Brook, who I feel are possibly going to be the biggest game changers that they have in terms of taking the game away. Because for Ben Stokes, for all that he says, he's always playing the situation best. So you need to get, firstly, if you want to beat England, get rid of Joe Root as early as possible. Have as many plans as you want to, but if you're not taking out Joe Root early, it's going to be very difficult. So for me, Joe Root is the biggest thorn that West Indies will have, because he's the guy who ensures everybody can bat the way they want. So for me, if Gudakesh Murthy can do that, so be it. I'm looking forward to Jason Holder and Gudakesh Murthy pairing up to possibly be the biggest game changers that they can have, because I trust on Craig Brathwaite to hold an end up all day. But all I want from the bowling is keep England to a score. And to the point that Akshay said, it's going to be very, very important for Brathwaite to be open to ideas. We saw that in the last Test as well, that Pat Cummins eventually ran out of it, but they had enough cushion having won the first few games. So that's where I feel this is going to be as much tactical and mental battle as opposed to just skills. Because, of course, we'll say England superior at home in terms of their own conditions. But if West Indies are able to conjure something up, and of course, I would want England media to rub them off, try and write them off, because nothing inspires West Indies more than that. So please rub them off. Tell them that they lose in 2 days. I am seated. This will be cinema.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still called the Wisden Trophy, but I think it is when England and West Indies
It
play.
is.
Frank
It's called
de Mello, right?
Botham and yeah.
Frank de Mello's,
Oh,
Frank de Mello's India.
oh, then it's called Botham Worrell. Sorry, Vaisa wala.
Botham Worrell.
Yeah. Or Frank Worrell, just the Frank Worrell Trophy. It's one of those.
Maybe.
We have to check.
But just looking at the West Indies squad right now, they don't have Tejnarayan Chandrapal. They don't have even John Campbell, who was one of the more attacking left-handed opening batters. They have Cavum Hodge, very, very promising talent, and he's got some runs, like I mentioned, top order right-hand batter. Alec Athanaze, we saw him against India. Captain, of course, Brathwaite. And in terms of those bowlers, Akshay got pretty much everyone right. The names that he missed out was Jaden Seals, Kevin Sinclair,
Kevin Sinclair.
Naeem Young, and Jeremiah Lewis. So who knows if these guys are going to take their opportunities well in England. 3 test matches, remember. The first of which starts on Wednesday, 10th of July. It is Lords. And then they move on to play, where is it? Nottingham and then Birmingham. So all of it on cricket.com, stats. There will be features written about that series as well, including the one in Jimmy Anderson, who we generally feel the world is going to miss in terms of test match cricket, and wish him good luck on his last 5 days or maybe 4 days of test cricket. Right, let's talk about other cricket right now in the world. We'll pander to the Emerald Island as the LPL Edition 5 is going on, apparently. And even though there was a whole, Dambula scare with match fixing, they got a new franchise, they've counted the props. I've not been following it. I confessed yesterday in that review show that I only saw one amazing catch, Chamika Karuratne's, a one-hander, which Russell Arnold put up on his Instagram feed and all of that. And apart from that, when I was just taking a look at the table and the scorecards, nothing's really caught my eye. I mean, Shadab Khan, a hat-trick, leading wicket-taker, ex-RCB and Isuru Udana doing well, 8 wickets for him. What else could you tell me and the viewers about the LPL?
No, more than anything, Isuru Udana hitting sixes with the bat. I was like, bhai, Udana agar batting kar raha hai achhe se, to bhai, ye kya tournament?
But is it also because the LPL is shit because the MLC is happening?
Yeah, it's going to be very tricky. There's been a lot of talent pilferage, so to say. So Shadab Khan last season played for the Washington Freedom at the MLC. This season he's here.
How do they choose?
It's LPL still has an auction, but availability and all, वो तो भाई मतलब अभी खुदा जानता है, मतलब how do you know?
Because you look at some of the teams, Nicks, in LPL, you look at your favorite player, right? One of them at least, in terms of Azmatullah Omarzai. He just finished the World Cup and is literally playing the LPL. Some of the Afghans as well, some of the Pakistanis as well. So how do you choose? And just for people listening and watching us right now, could you explain to them, is it just genuinely coming down to the player and saying, oh, I want to play here, I want to play for this team?
No, it's an auction, so that way LPL still has an auction. Availability wise, to bhai, that's up to the player, right? He gets to decide usko khelna hai ki nahi. At the end of the day, you also need to understand money matters, money talks. If they feel they're going to earn the big bucks, then they'll go for it.
Are there any players, Nick, who play the LPL and then MLC later group knockout stages or whatever?
I can't recall of an overlap there. I know of an overlap between MLC and 100, but I don't think there is an overlap between LPL and MLC. I'm good for it because you want to see some madness in the LPL, right? Because where else would you see Shanaka bowl 3 overs in the power play? So tactics or सब तो भूल ही जाना.
3 overs in the power play, take 3 wickets. अरे 3 डाला first tournament opener, 10 run Shanaka bowls the first. I'm like, what? And then he takes 3 wickets in the power play. And I'm like, what? And then Mark Chapman comes up, 179 marte. You're like, what the hell is happening?
But is that also because they have a power blast rule, right? 16, 17 overs say you can only have 4 fielders outside the ring. Do you think it matters? Because the LPL still is not even one of those tournaments you want to watch in highlights. CPL at least gets that. So how can the LPL benefit? And what has caught your eye this time?
It is all the hit races scoring runs in the LPL. To put it, South Africa would take a leg off. Ye fluency. Dude, Kusal Pal and Riza Hendricks had a 100-run stand yesterday. I cannot believe cricket at times, but that is the fun of LPL. And again, Kusal actually had a great. He scored a century also just a few days back. So if you are someone like me who wants to follow all these small tournaments for new guys, then it is great because you don't get to see Velalage play otherwise. You don't get to see Tisara Pereira also play otherwise. But I don't think there is something that you can take away as a benefit. I don't think Shadab Khan can take it out as a benefit that, oh, I got 2 4 in 2 games, because random things are happening. That Isur Udana game, they are 94 for 6 in 11 overs. And you think, oh, dude, this game is done. And then they go on to score 170. How on earth is it happening? Why are you allowing that to happen? Pathirana, it is the one thing that you want to watch Pathirana bowl. It feels like he's a clone. The guy who bowls for Chennai and the guy who's playing the LPL feels complete. He's already had, I think, I don't know, 4,000 runs down the leg side in whites already. So it is inexplicable, but it is what it is. I would rather focus on TNPL and Ashwin opening the batting.
That's true, and also MLC in terms of talent and money. So money is the biggest point here. LPL does not have the kind of money that MLC does.
America is more lucrative for all these players because you look at obviously the World Cup spillover. Your Travis Head, your Steve Smith, your Maxwell is there. Tim David, I think, is there.
Finn Allen, Matt Shaw. There's so many of these names that you know of at least. Finn Allen and Fraser McGurk opening, and then there's Matt Shaw. And you're like, bhai saab, kya hai ye? Like,
and you still have great T20 players with amazing pedigree. Your Faf, your Pollard,
your Russells and Narines of the world. Yeah.
All of them. So LPL, I mean, God bless you all, like I said. The fact that I remember you guys the most for a snake on the pitch playing periphery, more than the cricket on it. Many people saying their things about the LPL. Jugal saying this year LPL has had flatter pitches. Greg is saying LPL is a T20 tournament for the bookies to do their scripts. And Asian players choose proximity. IG, MLC in America might not choose to be favorable for them, saying Mohammad Arhan.
Bhai, lekin agar price mein 2x, 3x ka farak hai, I don't think they care about proximity. But fair point, fair point.
Santosh Udupa saying Hasaranga not shaking hands with Chamika. Interesting. And Parth, you have a good question. We will, of course, talk about it in the 12th man. Good to see Ramana Kiran as well in the chat. Avenger 21 asking about Mayank Yadav's chances in the T20 international setup, and even Sachin Upadhyay contributing with this, the chat. Sohangi Srivas is saying, Av, you got me thinking about Coke randomly. I mean, we don't partake in such things. It's a Monday Night Live, not a Saturday Night Live. If you know, you know. Keep liking our content, by the way. We're doing a lot of short content. We're live right now. We will be live every Monday going forward with some more guests as well. So, look, that is done and dusted. Let's just quickly talk about potentially the Champions Trophy 2025, what we've heard. Now, the tournament will start from 19th February 2025, the good old Champions Trophy. Pakistan obviously hosting it. And like, we've not really got any confirmation with the BCCI or the Indian government approving this. It's just come out through the PCB and the ICC. We've also heard Jay Shah a couple of days ago talk about how he wants Rohit Sharma to lead that particular competition and, of course, win it for India as well. So, Akshay, let me ask you this. With realism and pessimism and optimism, where do we stand in Champions Trophy? And do you think India will actually travel to Pakistan 17 years later?
17, acha, 2008 mein bhi khele the. Fair point. Again, it's very unlikely, although there has been a change in the government. We know that, the party in power is not in majority, which means there'll be a lot more stakeholders involved. And given that, sure, probably you might see the government being less opposing to the idea of the Indian team traveling to Pakistan. Will they actually do it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's something that's realistically going to happen in the near future. But I'm all for it. I genuinely hope something like that comes across. And again, the thing is, with an Indian team traveling to Pakistan, it's not a 1 month tournament that they need to think about. There are too many recces done, at least 3 to 4 recces done about 6 to 7 months in advance. Time and time again, security teams are sent and whatnot. So if Jay Shah or BCCI is even remotely interested in considering an option like this, the ball needs to start rolling right now as we speak. So if BCCI isn't interested, you could clearly see in their indifference ki boss, all they care about is ki Rohit Sharma jeetega. If they're not focusing on kahan pe hone wala hai, then I highly doubt it's going to happen in Pakistan.
Nix, where do you stand in this? Because 17 years later, we won the T20 World Cup. 17 years later, we'll win Pakistan, technically. And going by what the opposition might say, the fact that security concerns come to mind. Obviously, the last 10, 12 years, the history of both the nations that will come to mind. Obviously, Pulwama and these things will be brought up. Do we kind of again separate sport from politics? How is it going to be churned out and perceived by the world cricket audience as well? Because here's a chance for even potentially Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli
to play
in Pakistan, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And of course enhance the ODI format a little bit more. So there's a lot of fascinating subplots. How do you think it'll play out next? Because we're still 2 years away from it at best.
Yeah, see, from all the hopes that you want to garner, I don't see it practically happening. There is far too much water has gone under the bridge, and again, that is rightly, wrongly, for everyone to debate about it. I don't think it is possible to separate politics and sports. We don't live in an ideal world, so again, my expectations will be similar. I think Pakistan will eventually host it, but it will be like it was in the past, where or in the Asia Cup, if I'm not wrong, where they'll have their set of games in Pakistan and other games might be elsewhere. I don't know how they'll pull it off in terms of venues and players and travel and all of that. But I don't see that happening. As much as I would love to see even Rohit and Virat probably play a test in Lahore and in that stadium, but it's all far too much in the mind and not in the real world is what I feel. And yeah, very less hopes of that actually happening in my opinion.
Also, just to add to that, it also has to, you can see it in the president. So in the past, when, for example, 2005 and all, Pakistan had a Shahryar Khan at the helm for them. There was Sharad Pawar here, there was Jagmohan Dalmia. You also need to understand the heads themselves need to be interested in doing something like this. If the heads themselves aren't interested, which is very clearly the case, so kuch fayda nahi hai. You can do all the talks, all the press conferences, you can, but nothing will come out of it. And also, apart from India, if I'm not wrong, New Zealand in 2021 also sort of came out of Pakistan, right? They backed out last minute.
They backed out, but since then the landscape's changed quite massively well for Pakistan. Even though they don't have the government in order, and that's a different conversation altogether.
Exactly.
The fact that Australia toured there, England toured there, they're having a couple of more teams touring there just to make sure security is fine. But India is a different kettle of fish because obviously with the history and the massive fan following we bring, will Indian fans be allowed there? The security concerns, someone like Virat Kohli, someone like Rohit Sharma, because essentially, even if they will choose Pakistan and God forbid it goes well, they'll then have to kind of single down in a city because I don't expect India to be traveling to Rawalpindi, Faisalabad, Lahore, so on and so forth. So it is probably not going to be likely. Greg saying Champions Trophy not happening in Pakistan. Lahore mein game khel rahe to Amritsar wapsi aaja same day by road saying DK. Different things are being said about this India-Pakistan. Not just those two teams, but the Champions Trophy essentially, because Pakistan have got the rights from the ICC to go ahead with the tournament. Ideally, I think India would probably play their games in Abu Dhabi and the UAE, but again,
just to be clear though, Pakistan last had hosting rights for an ICC tournament when they've never had even the hosting rights for anything, right?
2011 World Cup.
हाँ मतलब उससे पहले
96 World Cup the Lahore.
I meant 2009, 8 or 9 wale attacks ke baad they've never. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I was just trying to see, think if ICC had awarded them the hosting rights ever before. Not the case. So this is a first for us even on that front because never have they even been awarded earlier. They would nip it in the bud ki boss, ye hoga hi nahi rehne do. This time around, it's good to see ICC have also tried to nudge it in some direction.
And even with their under 19 competitions or their qualifiers, the Asia qualifiers, none of it's been hosted in Pakistan. So it's a tough one to take for PCB, but we'll let you know how that story develops as long as it goes through. Champions Trophy should have been a preparatory tourney for a 50-over World Cup and should be sending youngsters saying Jugal, completely different take on that. And Greg going on to say, it's just not about security, guys. Don't want Indian cricket supporting Pakistan cricket financially, saying Greg K. I mean, Indian cricket right now is saving everyone's bacon. I mean, let's make no mistake. Even the Zimbabwe series, the amount of revenue that they're getting right now is just brilliant. Johnny Graves, the Cricket West Indies CEOs come out saying, listen, we need to figure out the financial cricketing pie and who's getting what because it's not helping the other team just to stay alive and survive more than thrive in the game of cricket. But that was the best of the rest, and I cannot wait to talk to you about the other segments let's move on and tell you what's to watch this week, which is a new one. And right now we're doing it on a Monday, but there's plenty of cricketing action. We've always hinted about bringing it to you. We will showcase to you in a form of a graphic right now. So let's just have that on the screen, producer. And Nick, Akshay, what catches your eye here? Obviously, all roads lead to Lords on Wednesday. There's other cricket games from around the globe. India Zimbabwe continues till what? Sunday it is, that 50-20 international culminates. We'll be back on that 15th Monday. I think there'll still be a lot of LPL, MLC. Anything which catches your eye here?
I mean, the India-South Africa 30-20, yeah, that's definitely something I'm looking forward to watching, because the second T20 was again, the last two T20s was for India to figure their options out, especially having lost the first one. They would have been under a lot of pressure. So I want to see what sort of names they go ahead with, because they made 4 changes in the second T20. I want to see if they stick with the same 11 or do they come up with changes. Apart from that, पता नहीं यार, मतलब India Zimbabwe, I don't know how much of it will I be able to catch. I'm out on Wednesday, I'm out on Saturday, so that's two T20is gone there. So yeah,
I'm just hoping it is a 3-2 to India in that series, more than a 4-1, because I want to see Zimbabwe win one more.
By the way, that reminds me, Nikhil bhai, India West Indies last year, both of us said 3-2 West Indies should win for the greater good. There you go. The greater good has been achieved now. So thank us later.
The greater good. I remember that series, and we were calling that as well. Next, what other games are you interested to see this week? I know I'll be paying attention to the Wimbledon and the football as well.
Of course.
But England, West Indies, surely, because Test cricket is back, I'm guessing 3:30 p.m. we'll all be tuning into those 4 days, I'm guessing.
100%. I cannot tell you how much I have waited that red ball coming out nicely and just proper defense. No impact player, no 11 versus 11, no power score, no power play. Chill. Shanti se baith ke boring, mast cricket dekho. See how it's going. Of course, well, England will bat. There will be a few, dramatic things. Of course, we will learn new rules because England are playing cricket. So, of course, they will teach us something new in this series. So, looking forward to that. But otherwise, just to add to what Akshay said, very massive last game for India before the Asia Cup, because I think South Africa probably just exposed a bit more of the vulnerabilities there. Even for the experiments that India did, I think there are a few gaping holes that need to be filled, whether it is catching or finishing a game off, or again Deepti Sharma just being Deepti Sharma. So that FC I'll take over later. But very important game for India. That, and of course England West Indies, we are here.
Yeah, that India-South Africa game, like he said earlier, you guys can catch him and Neha reviewing it for you all tomorrow night. And it'll be something to think about because, of course, like Nick said, Asia Cup happening in Sri Lanka, then the World Cup, which happens in Bangladesh. So India going to be playing pretty much a lot of T20 cricket in these subcontinental conditions. So they need to get it right and quickly. Time for Akshay's quiz then, and he's got a scintillating one this time around. Let's bring it to the fore. Let's see who's going to win this. How's that? Yet again, a tune synonymous with all the MNL lovers for the quiz addicts, that is, of Akshay's terrific How's That? What did you do last week? Oh, wait, there wasn't one, of course.
There wasn't one.
It starts fresh. It's a blank canvas. What do you have for us tonight?
We do have the following graphic. There you go, a lot of images.
Oh, shit. Why so much?
Anyways, a bunch of names. There you go. There's a lot of names from Mashrafi Mortaza to Yuzvendra Chahal to, of course, Marco Janssen, Orion Smith, a bunch of different names. Of course, all of this is IPL related this time around. Thought thoda IPL flavor bhi la hi dete hain kahin na kahin se. So you guys have to connect the following bowlers. That's the first bit. Apart from that, there are 3 missing names. So I want you guys to come up with who the 3 missing names are. Bonus points. Should I say an extra voucher? All right, an extra voucher for those who are able to identify the connect between the 3 missing names as well. So there you go. In total, there are 17 names. I want you to guess what the connect is between the 17 names. I want you to identify what the 3 blanks are. And thirdly, if you guys can, I would also love to see if you guys can connect what is the link between the 3 missing names as well. So yeah, I had lots of fun trying to think of this and coming up with this. So I'm curious to see if anyone's able to guess it. Again, make no mistake, do not enter your answers in the live chat. You've got to wait for the live stream to end and key in your answers in the main comment section. this is an exhaustive list, so there aren't any other names or there aren't any other players part of the list that haven't been included here. These 17 players are the only ones to have achieved something that no one else have. So once again, there you go. There's Mashrafe Mortaza, Murli Kartik, Balaji, Nehra, Dan Christian, so on and so forth. So I leave it to that. I feel Avanish is trying to rack his brains. Ki boss, chal kya raha hai yahan pe? Why are there so many random players here?
Surely not World Cup winners, IPL winners. None of that happens in that list. But 17 names, 17 faces also. You guys can pause and let us know in the comments, not now in the live chat, but after the show is done. The guy who gets it first will get a shout out and, of course, a voucher as well.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Instead of first one, this time we'll just sort of spice it up a bit. One lucky winner stands to win so that we get to have more winners instead of the same person.
Sure.
So one lucky winner every episode stands to win Amazon vouchers from us. This time you stand to win 3 Amazon vouchers because there are three answers, so to say, to be given.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So that was Howzzat. I think you guys would take a little bit of time in this one. It's not as easy as you guys think it would have been. I'm guessing not, at least. But time now to, of course, adhere to you and your comments in the final segment of Monday Night Live, and that is the 12th Man Corner. Right, we're way over time, but we have to, of course, pan into some of the great comments right now. Turup Makhtop has one of the things which capped my eyes straight away. Your views on DK's Asmi's batting coach and mentor.
Ooh, interesting. Personally,
It's better than Neil fucking McKenzie, to be fair. I mean, no offense, Neil McKenzie.
Again, it's not, you can't compare the player, right? वैसे तो संजय बांगर पर क्या था?
No, but to be fair, I think it was just more of a line thought.
Agreed.
DK was always going to be part of it. I was wondering whether it's just going to be crick buzz and commentary. But clearly, during the IPL, he wants to be still hands-on with the team. I think it's great. The fact that he actually had a fantastic final season for RCB. He's liked by the fans. Over the years, he's been part of Delhi and Mumbai and KKR. But I think home is RCB for DK. And I agree with it. So
that part, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. In fact, he himself spoke about how a lot of players were also rooting for him, wanted to play under or practice or train under him.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing how DK also, performs as a coach. We've seen how he's time and time again spoken about Abhishek Nayan and his role in DK's career, in DK's life. So I hope he's able to have a similar impact on some of the new names coming up.
100%. Next, because in the interest of time, we'll try to take as many as possible. We're already running out of time on MNL. Can you believe it? So I'll give you this one from Avenger 21. He asks, Mayank Yadav in T20 internationals, yes or no, and when?
As soon as he's fit to be able to play an entire tournament, I'm completely happy to see what is there to offer. We have to remember and treat very, very carefully after the Umran Malik experiment. We all went overboard in that train, and we don't know where that train is right now. So we don't want that to happen again. So just ensure it's fit and fine. There is definitely a lot of potential there, but the body needs to be fit. And if it means he's only going to play T20 format, I have no problem with that. So just figure that out with him, and then just ensure your workload is managed everywhere. So yes, very exciting name, but fitness remains primary concern.
Okay. Parth asking us, guys, and really quickly, random question, but who do you think is the most overrated and underrated cricketer currently? I would say overrated Liam Livingstone, underrated.
Overrated can be Johnny Best also.
Who?
Johnny Bairstow.
Johnny Best was a good shot. Very good shot.
David Miller.
David Miller is overrated.
I mean, he's high. He's been in an extended lean patch of form all through 2024. So that's how I'll put it. But he can.
Of course. See, one name we are not taking overrated is Maxwell. Let's get to underrated.
Yeah. I think Maxwell is rated for a reason. Underrated, I would say. I just said it. Akil Hussain.
Yeah, you went for Akil Hussain. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Underrated.
I'm going even more. More left field with Tanzim Sakib. I think he was very, very good in the World Cup. Not quite rated well. I think someone to keep an eye on.
Okay.
भाई ये तो बहुत मुश्किल सवाल है यार. मतलब किसका नाम लूं, किसका नाम नहीं लूं?
नीतीश
अरे
Nitish Rana, say Nitish Rana.
क्या say Nitish Rana?
He won't ask me to have Nitish Rana as captain next.
course.
And we're talking Virat returning as fucking captain.
अरे कुछ छोड़ो. I'll say Andries Gauss. Not spoken about enough. So yeah, a name I really would want to watch a lot more of.
Okay, quickly, I think we have time for a couple of more. Jugal asking us, how do you guys feel about Radha Yadav? Akshay?
So again, had a very good WPL, had a very good domestic season before that as well for Uttarakhand, if I'm not wrong, captain to side as well. But yeah, यहाँ पे especially in the T20 eyes, she's been a bit off boil. The way she's bowled, I know in the first game she took a couple of wickets. In the second game, she sort of repeated those mistakes. It's a good package all in all. Bowl भी करती है, bat भी करती है, अच्छी fielder भी है. But हाँ, Indian side में, yeah, we need a bit of that left arm angle. So yeah, ठीक है, not a bad shout to be honest.
Okay, let's move on and ask Nick's Mohammad Arhan's question. Should the Indian cricket team, the ICT, look at someone like K. Gautam? Could be interesting, he reckons.
Ooh, actually, interesting shout. Yeah, that's a very interesting shout.
But again,
I would love to, but I think the ship has sailed for him. I think the ship is sailed, unfortunately. But he's been around for way too long, and he's been part of a lot of IPL sides also. But the point is, if even IPL sides are not able to trust him with more than 6-7 games, I find it very difficult for the national team to be able to put that trust in.
Fair point. Fair point.
Sachin Upadhyay saying, will we see Sanat Paul now that Sanat Surya has been named as interim SL head coach? I would love to see it. That 189 that he blitzed India and Sharjah all those years ago, I was a big Sanat Surya fan. So much so that I had a poster of him in my room. And I was so obsessed with him that I actually sat every Sunday afternoon on the terrace to get a tan like him.
All right, posters, videos, and whatnot, of course.
And then he ended up being a fucking porn star.
Oh, you didn't talk about.
Anyway, he's the interim head coach. How do you reckon that will go for Sri Lanka?
Pata nahi, bhai. They've had way too many coaches. Sri Lanka, again, it's they themselves, after the great Sri Lanka phase, 2015, once Jaya and Sangha retired, it's been hard for them in terms of talent, in terms of personnel, in terms of coaching. So I don't know. And you can't even judge it by one series. Kya karoge uska? So it's going to be hard. Let's see. We'll take it as it comes.
Okay. Navdeep Chaudhary coming in last minute and saying, why were Tilak and Patidar not selected for Zimbabwe series? Next.
Tilak's injured. Was injured at the time.
Tilak was injured. Yeah. Was it
Rafa खेलेगा कहाँ भाई? They went for Samson, Dubey sab.
They went for Repa.
Anyway, we already
Repa instead of Rafa, no?
Good shout. Good.
Technically, same role and all of that. And finally, Santosh Arupa saying TNPL ?
चल रहा है भाई TNPL, like Nikhil bhai said, Ashwin open कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे, काफी interesting था. Didn't come good on the first attempt. 5 of 6, if I'm not wrong, is what he was.
Even today did not come off.
Oh, आज भी नहीं चला. But I am looking forward to watching G. Ajitesh. I'd spoken a lot about him last time around. Ki boss DK ke liye, he's almost like a like-for-like replacement, middle order wicketkeeper, batter, dasher, finisher, and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to watching a lot more of him. Baki to usual suspects saying there's Varun Chakravarti, there's Ashwin's, there's Shah Rukh Khan leading the Laika Co Vikings. Sorry?
Yeah, Abhishek Tanwar again taking wickets.
True.
That is true. By the way, there's a lot more questions which we, of course, have not taken. We apologize in that because, like I said, we'd like to keep things not short and sweet in the Monday Night Live podcast, but within a certain time frame. We have time for just one more thing, which is very important. We're here on this Monday Night Live, but I can't wait for Friday. Here's why.
He saw it. He believed it before a lot of us even saw it. 13, 14, 15, 16 is when we started seeing what Virat saw and Virat spoke about in 2009. Don't think he was the best man manager. Culturally, we're vastly different people. At 21, I thought, okay, that's it. That's my international career. Thank you very much. I'm done. And Mahi hated long meetings. 10 minutes is a meeting too long. I actually went to Mahi myself and I said, dude, I have to bowl. Bro, I have to bowl. Maybe that was the beginning of the genius that Mahi was as a captain. I don't know. But yeah, my job was to just kind of feed him strike and let him do his magic. And I think the best thing that happened to KKR since Gautam Gambhir left KKR was him coming back.
Brilliant chat, which I had the pleasure to interview Robbie Uthappa, but lots of chit, lots of chatter, lots of absolute insight in terms of Dhoni, Rohit, Kohli, Gambhir. Brilliant from Robbie. So that is the latest episode of Unwind, drops on Friday on the YouTube space and cricket.com. And we're almost done and dusted in MNL right now, but I have to, of course, just quickly, because we thought of doing this as a fun activity, right? Because I asked Akshay and Nix about their best James Anderson memories, and they were quick to give it to me. But I also wanted to ask ChatGPT. So let's just quickly do that exercise right now. Shorak, I have ChatGPT on my phone, and I want to live share it right now. Can we somehow muster this? Is it possible? Can you put my phone on? You can. And I'm guessing I'm audible as well, right? This is where I've not just keyed in a little voice note right now asking what the best memories of James Anderson is in an England test shirt. And this is what it had to give me in terms of answers. Now, obviously, it'll cite back his debut against Zimbabwe, the early success. Then the Ashes heroics, as you can see, 2010-11 comes to mind. And then when you scroll down, ChatGPT had all of this fucking information to give me about Jimmy Anderson and his test match exploits, which is crazy. Wicket number 700, for example, remember that 2023 Ashes series it was. In fact, that Dharamshala is where he got the 700. So look, different shit like this. It's amazing how this can give you just joy in life. When you're bored, you don't have a friend, you want to talk to ChatGPT or someone, it gives you all the answers, and that's how it gave it to us. Was that audible, Nix?
Yep.
I was
Very
audible.
clear, very clear.
Randomly just trying to give you some different sort of thing. Let us know what we've missed out on in this MNL. Wow,
Exactly. I was just laughing at how these things are bad times.
holding the phone. Absolutely ridiculous for me. But tell us what you enjoyed in this MNL. Agree and disagree with us. Some of the chat that we had about Team India, and of course that England West Indies Test match starts on Wednesday. Nikhil, thank you so much for your time. Akshay, yours too. And we'll see you guys next Monday. But until then, there's plenty of content as always on cricket.com. What are you waiting for? Subscribe right now, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. Well done. Can't believe it's over.